Let's imagine we have a game where we need to get to the other side, but how do we get to the other side when we don't have a bridge? Well, if I just start moving. So sometime back, I've basically seen this guy on YouTube Shorts that for some reason I can no longer find him, because as always, like, YouTube just hides stuff that I want to actually see, but he basically created this effect. And this effect is like really interesting because like you could see it in an actual game. Like for example, a maze game, right? Instead of like a default maze where like you have all of these parts always standing, always on your screen, you have a bunch of parts that are basically just like appearing and disappearing from the ground. And so what's funny about all of this is that, you know, it's not actually difficult to create. If you go inside of our local script, you will see that I simply get the distance between the character position and the parts position, and then use that distance to like compare to a certain range. For example, 16 studs. So if the distance is actually below 16 studs, then as you will see, the part actually disappears. And if the distance is above 16 studs, then obviously part appears. And so what I'm curious about is, can we maybe use the same concept of like getting the distance between the character and the actual part to create more of these really unique and interesting effects that we could, for example, use in an actual game? And so one of the ideas that I basically have is basically you see this big like black wall, right? That actually consists of multiple like smaller parts. And so my idea is that, you know, we can create a door that basically functions the same way as this thing. Basically, like when the player actually comes close to the door, then all of the parts inside of the door, they start decreasing in size to let you through the door, and when you like come through the door and get away, then they expand back to normal to close the door. I know it's kind of a weird idea, but I feel like it will look cool because today we are trying to create cool animations with this stuff. So let's actually start scripting. So the first thing I will do is actually duplicate the script for this part. So let's actually open the Explorer and the properties. Let's disable the last script and let's actually duplicate the script. So this will be our door script. And so now that we are inside of the script, as you can see, the thing we need to change really is basically the model. So this is the model of this thing, and we need to change that to door model, basically the model of these parts. And so the next thing that we changed inside of the script is first of the position, because we will not be moving the door parts, instead we will be just decreasing their size. So we can simply delete the position from the tween service and actually go and change the size. So the size of one part inside of the door model is actually, let's check, 552. We can actually set the default size of the part to 552. And we can also change the open door size to like, let's quickly copy and paste and divide it by 100 so that the size is actually decreasing. So divided by 100, 5 divided by 100, and 2 divided by 100. And so now if you play this the game, you will see that, you know, the parts actually like decrease in size. So let's actually get really quickly to the door. Okay, so I'm near the door, and as you can see, the system is actually working. It looks like, you know, some kind of intermission, like you will go through these doors to like get to the next level. Or for example, it also could be cool to create a maze out of these, because like you would have to go like through a bunch of these like black parts to find an exit in a maze. Now obviously we like can see these small details, but we can simply change the transparency to hide them. And that's basically it. So we basically created this system, but I have one more idea that we could create with this like system. Let's imagine we have a game where we need to get to the other side, but how do we get to the other side when we don't have a bridge? Well, if I just start moving, this is by far my favorite effect, because like it uses the same logic that I use for the door and that I use for whatever this is. So it's really simple, but it looks just way cooler. Like I truly could imagine like this bridge effect being used in some sort of like psychological horror games or like futuristic games. All I'm doing, the difference is that, you know, I'm basically just loaning these parts and placing them like below the base plate. So when the player like gets near the original parts, the parts from below start appearing before the player. And that's basically, you know, if you truly enjoyed me making these really random effects that I truly believe are kind of cool, obviously would really appreciate if you would like and sub, but do it only if you truly enjoy it. But anyways, like I will leave the files of the game file so that, you know, you can copy all of the systems in my Discord server. Good luck scripting.